All right, now that we've done our brushstroke assignment, the last class, hopefully you're familiar with how we're applying paint to the canvas. We've got a variety of strokes to use, and we need to make sure that you're really comfortable with it. Just like in the drawing year, we had a lot of experience handling the willow and making sure you knew how to make nice, clean lines with willow before advancing to any of the formal drawings. The brushstroke chart hopefully did that for us as well. So now we're pretty familiar with how much medium to use, which brush to use, how much paint to load the brush with, what size brush to use, all these things to get the exact stroke we need. Because now we're moving into completing actual paintings. Now the first assignment that we do is going to be a master copy. It's an open Grisaille master copy. Now, a Grisaille, first of all, is French for gray. So we're basically doing black and white paintings of historical masters. The idea being we're going to learn to get a nice solid base for a painting, what some consider a block-in, or more of a finished block-in, so that we can have something to guide our colored strokes if we were to do a full-on painting. So this is very common practice with a lot of artists, especially alla prima artists. You don't have a lot of time for this paint to dry, so we use an open Grisaille because it can dry in a matter of 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then you can get right into painting. Now, open versus closed refers to the actual paint film. In an open Grisaille paint film, we're dealing with black paint put on so thinly that the white canvas shows through to create our lights. So in essence, it's essentially exactly like how we do charcoal drawings on white paper. We're not using white chalk, we're not using white paint on charcoal drawings, we're just using the white of the paper to produce the light values. So this is the same idea as an open Grisaille master copy. We're going to take little bits of paint, most likely with a bristle brush, and we're going to massage or scrub or scumble, as we learned to call it last week, little bits of color paint onto the canvas and build it up in layers to achieve something that's almost exactly like a charcoal drawing. And what is a charcoal drawing? It's dark pigment, and that pigment is bound by either clay or wax, and we put it in layers to create a drawing. Now this is the same thing. We have dark pigment, it's bound in oil instead of clay or wax, and we're just going to take little bits of it and apply it to the canvas and build it up the same way. So in essence, the principles are exactly the same, so you should be familiar with it. We're seeking all of the same structure that we would in a drawing, i.e. good shape, value, and edge, and just using the master copy as a reference. So we could do this literally with anything. You could take a photo of someone or something and execute an open Grisaille of it, and it could be a finished painting in and of itself. Some people consider that an art form on its own. The better you are at it and the more efficient you are at it, the better foundation you give yourself for future paintings. So this is an example of one of the demonstrations of an open Grisaille painting that we did in class. Now it's a copy of this, which is a painting by Emile Friant of the 1800s. And so you'll be able to watch this video and see how over the course of 2 days, a broad block-in, similar to what we would call a no-tan, is laid in, and then it's softened out, and then using subsequent veils, or stumbles, as we'll call them, with paint. Using subsequent stumbles, we build up the value structure of the painting. Now, we're only going to have 2 days to work on this in class, but this is an exercise that you need to be very, very familiar with. Anytime you go to an open studio here at the Scottsdale Artist School, you're going to have a very limited amount of time to work. So as far as an underpainting goes, as far as a blocking goes, an open Grisaille is going to be your best bet for solving a lot of the shape, value, edge issues before moving into color. And that's the real advantage of this. You've had a year of practicing drawing at this point. So you've had a year of solving the shape, value, edge issues. Now if we can solve them in paint before we even think about using color, then you've already resolved a large chunk of challenge associated with a painting. All that's left after that is just sorting through the color. So the better you are at this, the higher the odds you're going to have at executing a really good finished painting. So I encourage you to practice these all the time. And when I was learning to paint, when I went to the palette chisel, if I saw a setup and I really didn't like the lighting that was on the setup, maybe the the bulb was so orange that the person looks like an Oompa Loompa, or it's just so washed out in some way that there's really not good color, or they put the model in some, by my taste, ridiculous colored outfit or something like that I really didn't want to paint in color, then I would opt to do an open grisaille. Essentially practicing the elements of drawing, but using scumbles and paint application. This will advance you much, much further, much, much faster than if you advance straight into color. If you're working at home, I encourage you to spend as long as you need to actually complete the entire master copy, not just a small section. In class, you guys, like I said, are only going to have 2 sessions to work on this, and I'll probably be doing a demonstration the first hour of each session. So we're really only talking 4 hours in class to work on this assignment. So like all the other assignments we've done in the program so far, I'll encourage you to go home and quite separately work on an entire one from start to finish. You know, find the time to be able to do this, get a completed master copy in open grisaille and bring it into showing. So this is the setup we're going to use. You're going to be working with just black paint is all you need. Ivory black is fine. Some people consider ivory black too blue or too cool of a black, but for the purpose of an open grisaille, you'll notice that it doesn't end up looking too blue at all. The reason being because we're not using white. White is also a very cool color usually, so when you mix the white and the ivory black, it tends to take on a bluish tint, which we'll see next assignment with the closed grisaille. But this should be sufficient enough for our open grisaille master copy this week. So go ahead and get out some oil-primed linen and some bristle brushes. You'll find it works a little better on linen mounted to a panel instead of stretched linen, because we are going to get pretty forceful with some of our actions here and scrubbing. And if you're on a weak stretched canvas, you could potentially dent it. So the recommendation here is a linen panel with your bristle brushes.